Hello, my name is Nollaig Heffernan and I am going to describe the discounted planner approach to effective time management. Discounting time means that you're removing the time available for the work to be done. So instead of thinking how long does this job take, you're actually asking yourself how long is available for me or my staff to complete this task. I'm also using a planner, a wall planner approach, because it's a visual way of representing time, and that's very helpful for people to get their heads around what's required in the business. So we're going to think about the discounted approach. Very simply, why do I use it? Well, it's a visual representation of time, as I mentioned, and this is great because we can at a glance see the limited time available to get the task done, and so we become more focused in terms of applying our energy to get things done. And this is very typical. You'll experience it yourself if you're going on holidays or you're going away for the day. It's amazing how much work you can get done in advance of that in order to allow that to happen. So it's really about creating deadlines and barriers in your time to make you more focused and more productive. Color coding and using a large scale planner that we use colors and patterns rather than writing is much easier for the brain to process. So it's a very handy way to generate a lot of information for the people involved in the system without them having to stop and read the entries of each day or each week. It also allows us to, when we use patterns, when we use colours, we can spot conflicts at a glance. If we can see, for example, I'm on holidays, but something significant is happening in the business, well, then I need to make sure that I'm prepared in advance to allow me to go on holidays, guilt-free, so I don't feel badly that I'm going on holidays, but also confident that the work is being carried on in my absence. It's a great communication tool, so using this coloured approach, the planner, it's a fantastic communication tool. It allows people to see what's happening, and it allows a discussion around the tasks and better way to do things and to manage time effectively in the business. It's also an inclusive approach for staff and family. So, of course, when we're thinking about the business, there's a lot of people demanding our time, but also our families are demanding time from us. And when we look at agriculture, that's a really critical area in terms of succession. So if our family feels that all our time is devoted to the business and we don't get the opportunity to spend time with our family, well, then their mindset and their feeling about the business isn't so positive and may in fact prevent them from wanting to be part of that business later on. And then we can also use these planners. They're a fantastic information tool, so we can use them to help us to set up the following year, help us to plan the following year. We could reflect on a planner and say, okay, there's a job that created problems for us. What was the problem? Maybe we didn't allocate enough time to it. It could be in another case that you allocated too much time to a job and that you needn't be so generous in the following year. So it's a great tool to help us with our business in terms of future planning and strategy. What you need to do it, the great thing about this is that it's cheap. It's only going to cost a couple of dollars to really, it takes time, but in terms of the materials, very, very cheap. And when we look at time management, any business that takes on time management and considers productivity gets a very quick win. And it's actually a win that's sustainable if you have the discipline to continue with it. So it's a really good way to add value to your business and to add value to your enjoyment of the business. So we would take something, a 12-month wall planner. This is a big scale version of time. So this is a macro view of time. You're taking the whole year. You're not just looking at the day or the week. You're thinking big picture, so that you're thinking about, well, if I expend energy today, how does that impact tomorrow? How does that impact next week, next month, the whole year? And so time influences time. If we're not mindful of a time today, it will have an impact somewhere else in the year. So taking a big picture and working backwards to tell us how to manage the year is going to be far more productive, and it's going to allow our brains to prime as to what energy is required across the year in terms of tasks to be completed. Family input is critical. They have a huge stake in your time. And of course, we're going to, by discounting the time not available, many of the things that we discount for will be family events, family activities, family requirements of our time. Using colours and stickers, as I mentioned earlier, is about the brain being able to process visual information faster. So using blocks of colours, patterns, means we don't have to take the time to read an entry. Instead, we can just look at it at a glance and get quite a lot of information quickly. Diary of events is necessary to know what's coming up. So it could be that you'll need some agricultural events that you intend on attending. And it could be your family events as well. So we're getting as much information as possible to create some structure in the year to help us to focus focus our time effectively. And I have staff input at the end, because if you're a business owner, if you are a significant member of staff and perhaps a unit manager, it really is about giving yourself some of the perks of the business, because you're taking in your position, you're taking a lot of the risk of the business, you're entitled to some of the perks. So take your holidays first, account for your own family requirements first, and then offer the time left to your staff. I often come across employers who think they're doing the right thing by offering time off to their staff first. That's it's not necessarily being a good employer, it's actually being somebody who's probably getting in trouble in terms of home life. And take the perks of the business, including time. What causes poor employee relationship is where you offer time and then you renege on it because you haven't planned appropriately. That's far worse than offering their holidays first. Not honouring their promises is much worse than giving them what they want in the first place, giving them something before you get it. Discounting time not available to farming is the first step of this process. So we take that big planner and we remove all of the time that's not available to farming. Now that's going to be non-negotiable time off. So this is time that you're definitely not on farm and that's not up for discussion. Maybe it's your holidays, maybe it's red letter days, any of the things that require you to be away from the farm. Negotiable time off then is time that you might like off, but if somebody else in your business has a burning need for that time to be their non-negotiable time off, well, then you can have a conversation, and that creates a great compromise and negotiation, and that's where you win brownie points as an employer or a unit manager. Also, if we can look at areas that are going to be bare essentials or skeleton shift. Now, that would be great if you could do that every weekend, because that aligns more with the outside world. The more you can align with what other employers are doing, the more competitive you become as an employer in agriculture. So maybe working light at the weekend means that you're more attractive to an employee who wants to pursue hobbies or outside interests at the weekend. Of course, you must plan your week very, very efficiently if you want to have that lighter weekend work phase. Also, in advance of a stress period in your business, you should be allowing some wind down for your staff so that they're ready and prepared to gear up for that stress business. So that might happen in something like block calving. You should certainly consider including your holidays, personal health. So if you have some appointments, school activities is a good one as well. So you might need to go to a class play, or there's something happening that you want to be part of. Maybe you're coaching the local footy team. Whatever it is that means you can't be on farm but is non-farm related, put that into the calendar, because that's creating those nice barriers, deadlines for your brain to work towards and to push you on in terms of productivity. The second step of this exercise is to mark the known events or periods in the farming year. So as robust farming businesses, you will have a huge amount of information and a lot of pattern recognition in terms of things happen at the same times every year. So make sure to put that into the planner. If you're kind of defaulting towards, well, we know that already, we don't need to include it, that's fine if you know it. But think about incoming staff who haven't worked in your business before or maybe have never worked in dairy. So get as much information out of your head and onto that planner as possible. That allows work to continue in your absence. If all of the information is in your head, you are required to be there. You become essential to the system. And that's what we're trying to work towards, is the ability to create a robust system that doesn't require you to be there all of the time. Things you should consider including will be system specific. So when you're doing calving, breeding, it might be some land management issues or grass, looking at harvest, animal health, anything stock sales, any aspect of farming that put that as clearly as possible into the planner so that other people know what's going on in your business at any one time, and your staff aren't waiting to be told what to do, they actually know what's coming up. And then once we have put in our own holidays and we have put in our the known events in the farming year, we can then go to staff and say, okay, this is what the farming year looks like. This is the time I'm taking off. Because I'm taking that off, maybe you say to the unit manager, I can't allow you to be off during that time because I need somebody responsible to be here, or to give me confidence, or just so I know that the job is being done. And then you can give that conversation to your staff. You can have that conversation with your staff and allow them to have discussions about when they're going to take their time off. If there's an important part of the year that you require staff, being able to say, I have a preference for you not to be off during that time. And that's really valuable, so that you're not frustrated and finding yourself in the middle of a stress period, realizing that everybody is off and you're all on your own trying to get something very significant done in the business. We then look for opportunities and gaps for relieving known stress periods. So if you know there's a particular part of the year that's very stressful, you should be mindful about working the rest of the year to make sure there's as little stress as possible happening during that time. As humans, we are cognitively impaired under pressure, which means we operate as if we had blinkers. We can just manage the bare minimum. And during a stress period, we need to make sure that we are doing what we should be doing during that time. So you shouldn't have extra jobs coming in. Something that you could have done in advance should be done in advance. You shouldn't find yourself in the middle of a difficult part of the year going, oh, I wish I had done that formally. I had done that before. I was better prepared. There's really no excuse, particularly in farming, which is really quite cyclical, and we know a lot of information going into any one year. So the kind of things that you might consider including, you might look for good opportunities for staff inductions. Obviously, if you're bringing in staff during a stress period, they're going to have a poor introduction to your business. They may get a bad first impression. You may not be in the best position to communicate effectively with them when they're not doing what you need them to do straight away. So staff induction training, spotting those areas, where's a lighter time of year, where's an easier part of the year, that will be the ideal time to bring in staff where you have time and patience to invest in them. You might look at system review. So you might say, well, you know what, last year something went wrong. We have time now to fix that. Is there a better way to set up the system? Can we change our standard operating procedures? Do we need to review those? You're taking the opportunity in quieter times of year to make your system more robust, to make your system more capable of coping during those stress periods. So there's many things you can do at that time. And then finally, we are working every day, week, month to make sure we have that successful year. So we're taking that big picture of a year and we're working backwards so that we know what's expected of us on any day, week, month of the year. But equally, we're working efficiently every day, week, month of the year to make sure that that whole year is productive and a good year in the business. And we can use something like task prioritization, as I have here, urgent and important. Are you finding a system that works for you? So it might be task lists. It could be to any system that works for you. So are speaking to your staff and saying what works for you? How do you like your information to be given? How do you like to think about what needs to be done at any one time? So we're really taking that big picture and working backwards, so that we can work appropriately today to build forwards. And then best practice with this, so a couple of extra tips in terms of it. Of course, don't forget to keep a key of what your patterns and colours represent. But best practice, make it big, make it really big. Get a big, mine are quite small here. Get it printed in a large scale. If you need to put up some whiteboards and draw the year onto the whiteboards, or even paint a year framework onto a calendar onto the wall that you can add your dates and change it every year. Make it as big as possible so that it's visual and easy to interpret. Make it accessible. So put it somewhere that it's easy to get to. If you want people to do job well, if you want your employees to do their job well, put no barriers in place. Don't make it difficult for your employees to find out what it is they need to know. Make information as accessible as possible in your business so that people are able to be proactive and not hang around waiting for it to be told what to do. Have a conversation with your staff about how to best represent the information. So, what's a good way? We have to do this every week. How will I put that on the planner? What colour should we use? Having those discussions opens up communication and allows for staff input. And often the people working in the business have super suggestions that you've never thought about, because they're coming at it from an employee angle rather than from a business owner or unit manager angle. And so they have a different way of looking at things and may well come up with excellent suggestions to help your business progress. It may be that you find out that somebody in your business is colorblind and doesn't respond well to it. How are you going to cope with that? Could be the shape of the calendar. Some people like a horizontal calendar, some people like a vertical calendar. This is all useful information to improve communication in your business. We know that businesses that communicate effectively are far more effective and robust. And then you should, if you're a multi-unit a multi-unit system, then you should have a planner for each unit, but you should also have a master planner, because you want to avoid duplication and you want to spot opportunities. So it might be a purchasing opportunity where you realize something similar is going on in 2 farms or 2 units at the same time. There might be an opportunity to buy at a good price. You're spotting those opportunities, and so you're not, but equally you don't want to duplicate. So it might be that you do something, ordering once rather than ordering twice, and looking for those opportunities and removing duplication. And then you would take the calendar and really use it take the planner, and at the end of the year when you're assessing how did this year go, was it good, what did we do well, what could we do better, reflect on the calendar, think about the calendar, spot opportunities for improvement for the following year, or maybe look at something and say we nailed it during that period, that's exactly what we want to achieve in following years. How did we go about creating that success? And the planner is a super tool to help you to center your discussion around the planner in order to inform the following year and to ensure that you're moving into excellent productivity and efficiency in the following year. So overall, we need to get our planner. We need to discount the time not available to farming, i.e. remove the time that you're not farming. Then we are going to mark known events in the farming year. So put as much information as possible. This is about sharing what's going on in the farm with all the stakeholders in the farm. It's also about, creating clarity for your staff. So employees like clarity, they like to know what's expected of them. So this would be a very useful tool on the journey to becoming an employer of choice. We then add staff there in terms of their time off and what it is they're trying to achieve in the farm or in their own personal lives. And then we spot opportunities to relieve known stress periods. So you're really loading the year, preparing across the year in order to make those significant aspects of your business, those stress periods, more productive, more efficient, and to make sure that critical aspects of your business aren't under pressure or suffering because you haven't prepared in advance. Finally, then we work this planner, we're engaging with this planner consistently, we're reviewing it regularly, and we are working efficiently on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And you can apply the exact same process, discounting time not available, marking known events, to a month, to the calendar month, to a week, to a day. You could use the exact same process to make you more efficient on farm. And remember, that efficiency doesn't have to be about releasing more time to work harder. It may be that you're releasing more time to have a better quality of life, to enjoy the business more, and to improve staff morale if people are stressed and under pressure. So the discounted planner approach to effective time management, a very useful tool that could make a big difference in your business if you apply it and have the discipline to stick with it. Thank you very much.